Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Strong Communities Love Where You Live podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Anderson, and this is our very first podcast, and I'm very excited to talk to you about it and get into this and begin this new adventure of podcasting. Appreciate you tuning in and listening to it. For those that don't know, I'm on Sugar Hill City Council. I have the pleasure of serving the citizens of the city and have done that since 2018. And I write a lot for Strong Communities, which is a blog about the city of Sugar Hill, how we got to where we're going, what we're doing, how we got to be where we are, and that sort of thing. So I'm excited to be here and talk to you about the things going on in the city of Sugar Hill. And so let's get into it. This first podcast is going to talk about the 1998 Comprehensive Plan and then the subsequent 2005 Land Use Amendment and Town Center Master Plan. And your first question may be, the 1998 Comprehensive Plan was 27 years ago. What does that have to do with 2025? And I would have to say that it has a lot to do with it for a number of reasons. First off, the 1998 Comprehensive Plan was the last comprehensive plan that had a sprawl type of development pattern that was so pervasive in the suburbs of Atlanta in the 90s and 2000s. I wrote a couple articles on Strong Communities about the growth of Sugar Hill and how it's growing slower today than it has in its history. But it was booming in the 90s and 2000s in Sugar Hill, primarily with sprawl growth with residential single-family cul-de-sac subdivisions. And that's why we have a lot of the traffic we have today. Cul-de-sac subdivisions don't allow for connections, and so what happens is those lack of connections forces everybody in that subdivision onto the same road. All of that same road that connects all of that, all those subdivisions results in all the traffic that we have today. And so the 98 Comprehensive Plan was a pretty wild plan for Sugar Hill. It actually had contemplated by the year 2020, so 5 years ago, that there would be zero, that's right, zero, undeveloped acres in the city of Sugar Hill, which is pretty crazy to think about. In fact, it envisioned that typical suburban separation of uses where residents are on one area, commercial in another area, and industrial in yet another area, requiring you to drive everywhere you want to go, and those roads being clogged because there were no additional connections made. In fact, in that plan, there would only be 30 additional acres of utility and transportation uses, considering that 2,380 acres would be developed. Only 30 acres being to utilities and roads seems wild. But that was what the thought behind that time was. As everybody gets a car, everybody has a single-family home, everybody drives to McDonald's, and everybody drives to work. And so that was the prevailing theme at the time, and it was broadly supported. And by 2020, the predicted population from that 1998 Comprehensive Plan was 55,000 people just in the city of Sugar Hill. And that didn't contemplate any annexations or anything like that. That was just purely the undeveloped acreage within the city limits. It would result in 55,000 people. But with 24,000, just about 24,000 households, which is crazy. The actual population in 2020 was about 25,000 people in Sugar Hill, so we fell 30,000 short of the 1998 Comprehensive Plan. In order to get there, what was really eye-opening, in order to get to the number of households that were predicted in 2020 by the 1998 Comprehensive Plan, you would have had to have zoned the residential acreage for almost 24 units per acre to get there, which is obviously extraordinarily dense. A typical townhome development has about 8 units per acre, just for context. So, that thought in 98 was pretty crazy, and I'm not sure that anybody that was on city council at the time was actually reading this plan. I guess what really blows my mind is that in 2002, city council once again voted to approve this plan. They actually recodified it and added some new data and maps to the plan, but kept the general comprehensive plan the same. And that to me is, I just don't understand how City Council didn't actually read the plan. But that was what was approved 2 times, including by 2 people who currently serve on City Council. So it's to me a wild read into where our city was going in the late 90s and early 2000s before the 2005 Land Use Amendment. And the 2005 Land Use Amendment was really a transformative change in the direction that the city was going. It was a change to go back to the traditional forms of development, that traditional ways that communities have developed for centuries, where you have a mixing of uses, walkability, and that sort of thing. And so I'm going to read a little bit about the community vision for that 2005 Land Use Amendment. It says the city of Sugar Hill will be a community that retains its small town atmosphere and established residential neighborhoods while providing for new business opportunities in its redeveloping downtown and along its major corridors. With the development of the proposed future land use map, the city has focused on several goals: the protection of existing neighborhoods, the introduction of mixed-use land classifications, the redevelopment of its downtown area, the provision of additional commercial opportunities in the city, the promotion of quality new development on vacant parcels of land, consistency between the land use map and recent rezonings and annexations, and future uses for proposed annexation areas, and enhancing and increasing pedestrian connections. And this was really a new focus for the city, moving away from that separation of uses to, as it said in the plan, for the community vision was that mixing of uses, which allows for more walkability, less traffic congestion, and a better cohesive plan with higher values for all pieces of property in the land. This also was kind of the city's first foray into the downtown and really focusing on the downtown area. And that was also backed up by the 2005 Town Center Master Plan. I've written articles on Strong Communities on all 3 of these, and I encourage you to look at those and read those articles because it does provide a lot of data. It also links directly to the plans, so you can actually read the plans in their full context if you'd like to do that. It really is an important thing to do and to read about if you want to really know the full story, because we can't obviously cover it here in this short format podcast. So the articles on Strong Communities are a great starting point. So the 2005 Land Use Amendment also talked about the rejection of the 1998 Comprehensive Plan. And I'll read you a portion of what it said in there. It said, the land use component of the 1998 Comprehensive Plan provides opportunities for non-residential uses. However, the land use component does not address the concept of mixed use, which the city wishes to incorporate on a fairly large scale throughout the city. As such, the city does not feel the 1998 plan accurately depicts the vision for the future. The city also recognizes that the continuing growth and development issues in the city and throughout Gwinnett County are high priorities to be addressed in its land use plan. So it was a much more thoughtful, comprehensive plan than what the 1998 comprehensive plan envisioned. And so this taking over and replacing the 1998 comprehensive plan was a major turning point in the city's history. So let's talk a little bit about the Town Center Master Plan, which also came about in 2005. Now, it started its development in 2003, and then a contract was awarded in 2004, and then it was adopted in 2005. And as you are aware, if you've been downtown Sugar Hill, it's obviously a much different place than it was in 2005. And here were the goals that were listed in the 2005 Town Center Master Plan. And I think these goals are a great guide for where we are and how we got to be where we are today. It said provide a mixture of affordable housing that meets the needs represented in the market assessments. So the 2005 Town Center Master Plan included a market assessment. I think we could probably argue that a mixture of affordable housing is not present today. A lot of that has to do with the distortions in the market that happened between 2020 and 2025 in terms of inflation and just the changing development pattern that has resulted in fewer and fewer opportunities for people to purchase homes. It said provide a mixture of retail, office space, dining, as well as family entertainment establishments to meet the needs of the existing and future population within the city. I think undoubtedly this has been achieved. We have in downtown a mixture of retail and office space, dining, and family entertainment establishments. I think you've got all sorts of ways for families to be engaged in the downtown, and so that certainly was achieved. The third bullet point says use available land efficiently through mixed-use developments. That certainly has been achieved with what has happened in our downtown. 4, create a set of standards and overlay districts that protect and enhance existing land within the study area, as well as encouraging new development to fall within the design standards to create livable places. That's a lot of words right there, but basically it just says what are the regulations that are going to be in place that allow this to happen, and that certainly has happened over the years with the introduction of several different town center overlay, the central business district overlay, and that sort of thing that has allowed for the development that has happened. Create short, intermediate, and long-term work projects that enhance the intermodal connectivity of the study area. Okay, that's intermodals basically just means how are we going to get around this area? And we've done a lot of work in doing that. Of course, the pedestrian bridge that's going up now, which appears, although it's called a tunnel in the 2005 Town Center Master Plan, is certainly an example, a great example, in fact, of the way that connectivity within the study area could be achieved. Which piggybacks on item 6, which says maintain and enhance pedestrian linkages between all uses within the study area. Well, again, the pedestrian bridge, the greenway, the sidewalks that are being built throughout the town center overlay area, and then the plans for future connections, including the extension of the greenway across the railroad and down the expansion project of Highway 20 between Peachtree Industrial and Buford Highway is yet another example of maintaining and enhancing those pedestrian linkages. Number 7, increase pedestrian consideration and safety. Again, the pedestrian bridge. I mean, this is right up that pedestrian consideration and safety. At that time, you may recall in 2005, Highway 20 was only a 2-lane road, and but it contemplated, the 2005 plan contemplated that widening, and of course, getting across a 4-lane road at highway speeds, including, and actually at where the pedestrian bridge crosses, it's actually 6 lanes wide because you have turning lanes in there. It's obviously a very dangerous intersection to cross. And then finally, enhance the city's aesthetic infrastructure. And of course, we've seen that throughout downtown, not only just in the design of the buildings themselves, but the enhancement of the historical cemetery, the building of the landing, splash park, Cornerstone Park, the preservation of the historic tree, and that sort of thing, all have tied into enhancing the city's aesthetic infrastructure. So I think it's pretty easy to say that all of those things have been achieved. And I think it's really important to understand that where we are today is highly impacted by where we are decades ago, and where we will be in the year 2045 will be highly impacted by the decisions that we make today. And so what you're seeing through the comprehensive planning process is a reflection of the community's desires. And last night at our city council meeting, the city was designated as a Plan First community, one of only 8 communities in the state to achieve that designation. And I'll put a link in the Strong Communities blog to the presentation that the Department of Community Affairs from the state of Georgia did last night, which talks about the planning efforts that the city has been undergoing now for the better part of 20 years and how the city has achieved the community's desired vision through that process. And I think that will give a great context to what it is that the city has done and how it listens to its citizens and where we have gone from where we were thinking we were going to go in 1998 to where we are in 2025. So with that wraps up our very first Strong Communities podcast. The goal here is to keep these fairly short, but to give you some additional context behind what it is that we're writing on Strong Communities, and then, of course, having more of a conversation. We look to have more guests on the podcast, and where we can talk about any number of topics and going on in the city of Sugar Hill, in the North Metro Atlanta area that impact us here in Sugar Hill, and where we are going as a community. I hope you all have a great day, and as a reminder, early voting in the city has started as of an hour ago from the recording of this. Then early voting goes through October 31st and culminating on Election Day on November 4th. So Sugar Hill, get out, vote, get educated on who the candidates are, and please get out and vote. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks.